now I would like to welcome Dr. Declan Vogt, who is the lecturer for robotics and automated mining from Camborne School of Mines from United Kingdom. And Mr. Mark Holmes, who is the Health and Safety Manager from ICMM United Kingdom. And Mr. David Martin, he's the founder of Forge Consulting, and I believe he's joining us from South Africa or Zambia, one of those countries. The panel that we will be covering right now is about delivering step change benefits to the mining industry. We have prepared quite a few questions or topics that we can address. So what I suggest is that the moderator, who is Dr. Declan, can address the question that he feels are most appropriate. But before we start, I would like to ask Mr. Mark Holmes and Mr. David Martin to introduce yourself to the audience. And of course, Dr. Declan, because we haven't heard from you yet.
Thank you, Daniel. It's Mark Holmes here. I'm the manager for health and safety at the International Council of Mining and Metals. Apologies, I haven't put my my video up. My internet connection's a bit sketchy at the moment, I'm afraid. So hopefully, I'll be able to sort of keep them here. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I'm David Martin, and I'm actually presenting from Zambia. I'm actually on site at the moment in northern Zambia, on the border of Zambia and the DRC. Looking forward to the chat today.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm Declan Vogt. I'm a lecturer at Camborne School of Mines. I'm spent a long time in mining research in South Africa, and I now lecture mining, robotics and automation. It's my pleasure to run this panel discussion, and I think we have an interesting panel. Let's start with the questions in the list. What technologies are providing the most value for operations today? And where do you think it's going to go in the future? David?
Yeah, thanks, Declan. In my experience with the South African mining industry, and now the last 5 years being based in Zambia, good old-fashioned mobile handsets are becoming increasingly used, particularly in underground applications, and more than just being able as communication devices, it's now opening up a whole bunch of other functionality. Apart from just the voice comms, with a simple handset device, production tracking, you can do operator pre-starts, safety inspections, texting groups. Just mobile handsets are opening up a whole bunch of opportunities. I think some of the widely used technologies which are delivering value are tracking technologies, and this goes particularly in sort of labor-intensive mines, which a lot of the sort of African mines are. So you got a lot of people underground working, and having that ability to track them, where they are, and that's utilizing technologies like RFID tracking, Bluetooth, wireless access points. On the people side, and also tracking machines and other resources underground. I think in my experience that's those types of technologies are adding a lot of value at the moment.
Martin, if I can just pick up on that. Sorry, David, if I could just pick up on that. You talk about handsets. So are you talking opencast?
I'm talking underground. So actually using mobile handsets underground. Historically, underground communications has mostly been radio, leaky feeder type technology. But now with digital and underground networks where you can use smart mobile handsets, it's opening up a whole other sort of world of possibilities.
Okay, that's very interesting. Not something I was aware of. Mark, what do you think is what technologies are providing the most benefit for the most value for operators in the safety space?
It's a good question. A lot of the work that I've been looking at the moment has been around aspects around collision avoidance technologies for vehicles. Whether there's upper controls such as fatigue monitoring within vehicles as well. This is technologies that are evolving, but have been around for a little while as well. So, I see that progressing even more as more and more people get, more and more companies actually start taking up these technologies. I think more broadly, I think one area that's really important, especially for a health and safety perspective, is how is trying to understand and measure and manage whether your controls are being effective and where they're being effective 100% of the time, being effective for the time it should be and performing to standard. So I think there's going to be an ever increasing role for monitors and sensors for a range of controls, to have that real time or close to real time monitoring of control effectiveness. So interventions can be made more timely to address any failing or underperforming controls, and this goes from especially in the health space. Something we should not forget here is aspects around real time particulate monitoring in underground environments, to help understand where exposures are to the likes of silica exposure or coal dust exposure, that sort of things, and being able to do timely interventions and not just leave it to a long-standing health monitoring process as well. So it's trying to shift this into a more real-time sort of aspect of fatality prevention, essentially.
Thanks. And this leads into the next question, which is around ensuring the health and safety of mining operations. Do you think there are other technologies that are beyond monitoring that are going to be really important for health and safety?
Well, as I said, there are a range of hazards and risks that the industry uniquely needs to sort of address and needs to deal with. So, when it comes to the likes of underground mining, especially in deep, high stress mines, such as you find often in South Africa, I think there's going to be continued effort to understand and how to better protect individuals from the likes of rock bursts and falls of ground. We may need to actually explore better methods of mining to move people out of the line of fire. And whether that actually includes greater levels of automation, robotics, these are the sort of things I think that are going to be, become more and more prevalent in the industry, as well as the likes of automation.
Thanks very much, David. Have you got a view on health and safety and technology? How do we ensure health and safety on our operations?
Well, I think one of the key things is to ensure that whatever you install, you've got an integrated emergency response system. So that's ensuring understanding who is underground, where they are they in danger, and if you've got refuge chambers or places underground where people can go in the case of an emergency, making sure that is hooked up so that you've got a video feed. They can talk to you from underground. You might have, and as I mentioned before, tracking technology, so who is underground, who's in danger, and then remote condition monitoring, remote diagnostics. All of this in a sort of integrated approach, so that you can isolate where people who are in danger, where they are, and ensure that you can get them out the mine safely. So I think, and then just following on from what Mark said, I think rock bursts and seismics, obviously for an underground operation, is very important to know that, and seismic monitoring, good seismic monitoring is key, so that if there are any shifts underground, any movements that you know about it immediately, and then that alerts the operation or the responsible people to take action. So and Mark also touched on things like fatigue monitoring, with the sort of Internet of Things approach now, wearables to actually monitor operators and their fatigue levels. I think that's going to become increasingly important. So, it'll flag the operator if there is a potential fatigue issue, and then flag the control room on surface that, there might be an issue with this person, so that they can coordinate it from surface. I think those are some of the key sort of health and safety issues at the moment.
Do you have any comments on technology and its value outside of the talk you just gave, outside of artificial intelligence, and perhaps on health and safety as well?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we have different approaches in this field. As David, for example, mentioned, or Mark mentioned, we can follow up the easiest approach, and it's tracking, monitoring, and having action after finding the problem. But it's not the best way, it's not the best approach. The better approach for us that we are following up that in Valley is using AI to predict some problems before happening. And also, we are training the new technology based on AI for coaching. It means that we try to avoid the problems or dangerous areas or any hazards before happening. So this is one area that we are focusing on that right now, because if you monitor the people, if you track the people in the best condition, you can avoid something that happened before, to control the people, to maybe move the people in the safe area and so on. But AI potentially can help us to predict the hazards in advance, and also helping people and also coaching people in some cases. So now we are focusing in this area, in the safety, in AI Center, to make integrated model, to predict some problems for the equipment, to send alarm and notification to the operators and also to the maintenance team, to make sure they are aware about, for example, for this problem in a conveyor belt or in the truck equipment and so on, and also making the coaching system to give them advices, step-by-step advices to solve the problem, to avoid the problem, to avoid any hazard in the future.
So, do you have any AI systems already operating in the safety scenario in operational mines?
Yes, we have different products, but the problem is that they are not integrated products. For example, we are one product focusing on the conveyor belt system to make the prediction, for example, for the bearings and for the idlers and so on. We have another program focusing on mobile equipments in the surface mine to predict the failures for the truck and excavators equipments. But we have different separated programs, but they are not integrated, and this is the challenge that we have. And to solve this problem, we need data. The problem is lack of the data. We don't have access to all information that we need to make the integrated model.
Okay. Thank you. I'm now going to ask a controversial question, or I hope it's going to be controversial, which is automation the key to improved efficiency? And I'll just put my heart on my sleeve and say no. So perhaps you guys would like to tell me I'm wrong, or tell me why I'm right. Yeah. Is automation the key to improved efficiency? Mark?
I think it's a tool in the shed. I think it's something that that can be used and can be appropriate for different situations. Out in the Pilbara, we have a lot of you have a nice operation center set up in Perth, and you can have sort of trucks running that way. But I think I think there's still a lot of barriers in the way to having total automation within the mine. So I don't see it being a full solution at the moment. But it's certainly not a silver bullet solution to any sort of health and safety or productivity issues, I think. But it's definitely something that's very interesting. It's very useful. It's something that can help from my perspective in health and safety. Getting people out on the line of fire. I think that's all really useful. Useful ambitions for this as well. So I wouldn't be dismissive of it totally, but it's not going to be the be all and end all, I think.
Ali, what's your view?
David, I think you wanted to.
Look, thanks. I think I'd probably echo Declan and Mark, and just talking from an African mining perspective. There's often quite a few issues to be addressed first in a lot of the African mines before automation would become, I would say, value adding. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of training trying to implement like an automation initiative, and it's just going to fall flat. So in sort of more modern, well-managed mines, I would say yes, automation is the next logical step. But very often there's a whole bunch of hurdles that have to be crossed in order to get to that point. If we talk about automation of data, I would say yes. Trying to automate that data, and Dr. Ali touched on that earlier, is about getting the data at the source. So if we talk about automation, I would say more importantly, let's automate the data, get the data at source, so that you can make the right decisions.
Trustworthy data, yeah. Ali, what's your view? You're selling automation. Well, a form of it.
Yeah, but it is a very complex and multidimensional, question. We cannot say yes or no. But I really like to just clarify something and say something in the middle. When we are speaking about some routine activities, okay, and some planned activities that we have access to the data and we have access to the trained people, okay, so automation definitely can help us to improve the efficiency, okay, but the main challenge right now in mining industry is not automation, it's making decisions, okay? Because the main effective parameter on the efficiency is the manager's decisions in the critical situation. Automation cannot solve this part of the problem. We are using very sophisticated equipment, models, algorithms, products, but at the end, we have to trust one manager to make a decision based on all of this information. But that manager has not been trained perfectly to use all of these tools. And this is the key problem that we have right now. When I'm speaking about AI, I'm speaking about a virtual assistant. I'm speaking about how AI can help human to make the better decision. We don't like just to categorize the data, plot the graph, and something like that for manager. We need one virtual assistant to analyze all of this information and give some advices to the manager and also evaluate the risk of each decision. This solution can help us to improve the efficiency dramatically. Not just automation.
Thank you. I think you guys have sort of stated my view, which is that automation's part of the picture, but a bad mine, an automated bad mine becomes an automated bad mine. It doesn't become a good mine just because it's automated. But I see a theme coming out there, and it's this theme of information. You need good, reliable information. You need it right now, and you need to present it in ways that make it easier to make decisions. How to maximize productivity across operations with a commitment to innovation. Is innovation a necessary part of mining and of increasing productivity on mines? David.
I would say yes. Technology is constantly evolving, so you have to have a very open mind and understand that because it's evolving, technology you may be implemented 10 years ago in your mine could very soon be outdated, and there's this constant sort of check and recheck of what we're implementing. Is it still the best solution? Do we need to change? So I think innovation is very much part of how you go about planning your technology initiatives on your mine.
That's great. Ali.
Okay, my answer is definitely yes. We need innovation, specifically in the mining companies, to solve the business problems and also improve the work conditions that we have. But one thing that is important here, we cannot just gather all internal resources and asking them to have innovation is important, okay? Because the internal resources have the internal knowledge. We need to extend the knowledge of the people to have the more innovation and better solution for the business problems that we have. For example, in Valley AI Center, we already developed the research and development model. In this research and the main part of this model is innovation. But we already signed agreement between Valley and 20 universities across the world. And now for each problem, we have the innovative team and the innovation team, to sit together, speak about the problems, and also having the fresh idea about other industries, other solutions that we have in the universities, in research centers globally, and making this approach for Valley. So yes, innovation is important, but how you can use this word practically in the mining company, I think it's much important.
Mark, does innovation have a role in health and safety?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one particular project I'm involved with that I'll be speaking to later after this panel session is our Innovation for Cleaner, Safer Vehicles initiative. And what this essentially is, we want to have a collaborative effort to answer some of these big challenges that we have in mining. And that in itself is the innovative sort of approach that we're taking. So for us, collaboration across the industry and across technology providers and manufacturers, that is really the key thing that we want to try and spark and basically try and accelerate some development in some key technologies and approaches essentially. So for me, innovation is synonymous with collaboration. So yeah, so in terms of the work we're doing there, we're looking at trying to have a I think what we're trying to do is try and accelerate development and innovation through having clear, aligned ideas across the industry of what the industry actually needs, and that can then be better communicated to technology providers, to manufacturers, to say these are the issues that we really want having addressed. Can you help us with addressing these sort of points? And sort of points we're looking at is around collision avoidance, reducing exposure to diesel particulate matter, as well as aspects around greenhouse gas emissions as well. So yeah, these are some of the big issues that we see in health and safety and sustainability. And, we're trying to think of new ways to encourage that innovation and what is required to spark that innovation across the sector.
Yeah, look, I think we with innovation, and we've touched on automation, which is where one of the things that we all essentially working towards, but just on maybe a sort of deeper level, like for example, being able to maximize equipment between shift changeovers. That's quite a lot easier to implement than, for example, full automation. But then you've got your assets working for you when there's no people in the ground and where there's a shift changeover. I think that's one of the key things. I think all the surveying automation initiatives and technologies available now, LiDAR mapping, underground drone mapping is really been quite innovative, and it's giving us a lot of visibility particularly in the underground environments where old areas where people haven't gone or walked into in years, and you want to actually see what's going on. Mapping stopes and understanding how much material or you've left behind. I think that those are really important from an innovation perspective. I think also with training, VR and AR and mixed reality, those sort of training initiatives, which are quite innovative, and essentially, if done well, you can reduce the training time, the amount of time it takes to train people, while at the same time improving retention. Also, mining simulators, being able to simulate the underground environments on surface is also helping particular operators training, learning how to work certain machines, for example. So I think mining automation, surveying automation, and simulation are some of the key sort of innovations that are currently being used quite commonly across the world.
Thanks, David. I'll stay with you because the next one is about the guidelines for implementing a digital mine, and you started off by saying that mobile devices had become really useful. So it sounds like you're already operating in an emerging digital mine. So how would you say operators should go around making that transformation, getting everyone onto the nets and wired up?
So I like to call it the 6 pillars of a smart mine, and I'll actually be giving a talk on it during tomorrow's session. But first and foremost, and I'm talking from an underground perspective, is backbone, is making sure that you get a network underground and it's in the right place and it doesn't break, is first and foremost. Because once you've got that, then it opens up a whole bunch of other opportunities. So you got your backbone in. The next thing is communications, being able to talk to each other from underground to surface. I mean, it sounds basic, but these are the sort of building blocks, right? From there, and once you've got your backbone in, you've got communications, you can then start monitoring and tracking. And we've spoken about monitoring and tracking people, monitoring and tracking equipment and other resources. Then we've got safety and risk, and we've spoken about that, making sure that you've got certain things in place to ensure that people are safe, and then you want to reduce risks underground. Then we've got data and analytics, and I think we've already spoken about that. And I think Dr. Ali touched on it. Is with data and analytics, it's getting systems to talk to one another. Mines often have a number of different systems, and the challenge now is getting all those systems to talk to one another through data. And then lastly, automation and innovation. So that's all the cool sort of next steps of where we want to go. But unless you've sorted out the first 5 pillars, automation and innovation sort of, is just all talk and can fall by the wayside. So yeah, I call it the 6 pillars of a smart mind, which I will discuss tomorrow.
Would you say that putting in a backbone's now become affordable? What sort of level of a mind can afford a backbone?
It's very affordable.
Core? It's very affordable. Okay.
No, it's very affordable, and I think it's compared to what minds spend on equipment and with their massive budgets, installing a rugged backbone is really not expensive in the grand scheme of things, and obviously the benefits far outweigh the costs.
Yeah, great. What struck me when you talked earlier is the initial benefit is just that being in touch, and because you're never in touch underground, and now you are, and so it just changes the game without really being a digital mine. It's a technology that leads to better communication, and it gets its benefit from that.
Yeah,
thanks. Ali, what's your view on how should we go about implementing digital mines?
Yeah, I don't like to say this is the dream, but this is the long-term plan for the mining companies that I can see right now in overall. So because right now we have different types of challenges for sensors, for data, for communication systems, and so on. So we are thinking about the integrated models controlling, monitoring, and predicting something in the surface mines and underground mines. But in reality, when you try to work with the real data collected from different equipment, you can see the ocean of the problems. Okay, the bias of the data, the wrong data, the sensors doesn't work perfectly. So I'm optimistic people, okay? I don't like to just say, okay, this is the big barrier, but I believe that we are on the starting point of this way. Mining industry has many different types of challenges. It's not same as aerospace or manufacturing and so on, because we are working in the dirty area. We are working in underground mine, the coal mine sites. You have a lot of noises of the sensors. You have a lot of wrong data coming through your database, okay? So it's a long way to reach to the industry for example, for mining or fully digital mine sites. But I think we can start from some practical points. We can start from surface mines instead of going deeply right now in the underground mines when you want to extend the digital mining, okay? Because we have access to the better data. Or you can focus on some equipment that manufacturers already installed enough sensors, and you are sure that you have access to the clean data. So it's a lot of things in my mind to say in this field, but in one sentence, it's the long way for mining companies right now. I'm speaking as a people who is working on the data every day coming from different sites.
Did you say it's a long way?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not speaking about the models, algorithms, and so on, because this part is growing very fast, okay? You can use the many different types of AI or advanced analytics approaches to analyze the data. But the problem is data. The problem is the infrastructure that you need to collect this information. How many mine sites right now have access to the 4G or 3G information infrastructure? How many underground mines have access to the online data collection system? So this is the type challenges that we have, and also the problem with the dirty data.
Thanks very much. Mark seems to have dropped off the call.
Mark just messaged me that he has his internet connection. It's not stable and he's logging in again.
Mark lives in the UK like me, so internet is a lottery. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes not so much. In that case, I'd like to go back to Ali and just ask, what about standards? Do you not have problems dealing with all the different manufacturers and access to their data? Like if you're running a drill rig and an LHD that come from two different suppliers, is that not a challenge?
Yes, it's a challenge for us, but we already solved this problem. I have one example for you. We are now using the fully automated fleets in different sites in Brazil, okay? But we have two main OEMs who are providing the different mobile equipment for us. We are working with Komatsu and we are working with Caterpillar. Both big companies who had the different platform. Caterpillar using the MiningTech right now, and Komatsu is using modular. And this is the the locked application for us. We cannot touch anything inside these applications, and they are not happy to work with us, to add any new features, for example, on their dashboard and so on. So the problem is that as a mining company, how we can solve this problem? If we want to deliver the new product, how we can tackle with this issue? We already solved this problem in 2 or 3 cases. So in the agreement that we signed with them, we asked them to provide the data and information that we need to fit to the developed models by Valley. Okay, so it means that for Komatsu now we can collect the required information and data from modular. And from Caterpillar, we are extracting the information from MiningTech. But we cannot merge all of these platforms together, okay? And we cannot ask them to give us access to change something inside their application, but we can have the information and data collected from them. So to solve this problem, we made the integrated dashboard named Sentinella. It is the platform and dashboard owned by Valley. It means that all of this application that we are providing in AI Center will be developed on one specific dashboard. So we don't care about the manufacturer's applications or platform.
David, have you come across that problem, or do you have a solution for it?
Well, so one of the issues I've had in the past, dealing with the OEM for mining equipment, I won't mention which one, but we went through this whole drive with them to get data and start analyzing a whole bunch of their data, and then they turned around and said, okay, well, you're going to have to pay for this data. It's our data. And then we sort of had to go back and forth and, amend the contract and make sure that we had access to that and we didn't have to pay for that data. So that was quite interesting. I think where the industry will go, Declan, is that we'll have some sort of commonality come out between different manufacturers of data. I think that's if there is consistency with how they giving the data to you, that might be a competitive advantage to them. So you could run different fleets, right, on your mine, but have the same data from the fleets, So I think there is opportunity there from the OEMs to make sure that there is some standardization across the board.
I think it's a controversial and open question. The Global Mining Guidelines Group has been really active in trying to get people to be open about their data, and some companies are starting to open, but other data, they're just not opening it. And if you look at the agricultural industry in the States, John Deere has really kind of, if you buy a piece of John Deere equipment, you're pretty much stuck with John Deere forever then, because their farm optimization software that comes with their equipment only talks to their machines and so on. I think it's an open, I'd like to see it go open myself, but it's still an open question as to whether the equipment companies see more advantage in keeping you trapped in or more advantage in playing nicely with other people.
I think just to add on to that, Declan, one of with some of the challenges of getting data off machines, so an OEM might charge the earth, for example, to include smart onboard computers, that data collectors, right? But then you can get a third-party equipment at a fraction of the cost that gives you standardized data. So instead of doing it OEM-based, you go third-party based, and then all your data is standardized across a fleet that might consist of a number of OEMs. So that's why I say it's in the OEM's best interest to try and standardize. Otherwise, there are other avenues.
Great, thanks very much for that. It's this is a field that I feel is like it is really changing fast. Each year the stories are different, and each year things are changing. So it's fascinating to hear what's going on in the industry. Understanding the demands and capabilities of mines and how there can be greater integration with technology providers. Would either of you like to talk about that? I've seen some of the big technology providers very keen to get into mining, but they appear to have very little depth in mining skills. And so you kind of think, why would I want you on my mine? What's your feeling? David, do you want to go for that?
Yeah, look, I think the first key thing, which based on my experience, is that there's no silver bullet technology solution, for everything. And that creates complexities when you're implementing various technologies on your mine. So you need to understand and determine what the burning issues are, and try and do some prioritization. The other key thing is long-term vendor partnerships are key. So it's not just vendors can't just sell you a product and walk away. There has to be constant engagement and a relationship between the vendor and the mine to help improve it, whether that's through implementation or through data. And we've spoken about before that the integration of data is absolutely vital. And as I mentioned, technology is constantly changing, so you have to be agile.
Ali, what do you feel about the technology providers? Are they easy to work with, or is it a challenge?
No, it's a big challenge. I have worked in this area from 2010. Right now it's more than 10 years. Every day I'm receiving many emails from different startups and companies across the world who they already provide or made some application, and they think they can apply this application in the mining industry. Okay, so the big challenge right now is sustainability, maintenance, enhancement, having access to the information. We cannot buy something that provided already and available in the shelf of the store. You need to make your solution, your product, based on your condition, based on your data, based on your mine sites, okay? And you need to make sure you have access to the project team later to complete the sustainability phase, having the maintenance services, and also having any enhancement or improvement in the future. Based on this type of the problem, right now we are managing and leading analytics projects internally in Valley but we have partners. We are working with IBM, Accenture, Microsoft, Oracle for different projects, but they are working with us in the project phase to complete the product. And after that, they have this responsibility to train some people working in Valley for AI Center for any services in the future. So we already had a lot of different types of experience, buying one product from one company, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Definitely, you need to, to customize the product for your situation.
Thanks. We're coming to the end of our time, so I'm going to ask you a question, and the question is: when do you see the number of IT professionals in mining companies exceeding the number of mining professionals?
Oh, it sounds funny, but it's probably close to reality. Yeah, I think when I got into the operational technology field and I started working with the data, I realized why data engineers and data scientists are some of the fastest growing professions in the world, because there is so much data available at the moment on every operation, but unless you convert that data into actionable insights, then it really means nothing. So yeah, to answer your question, probably, I don't know, by 2050, but it's a very real thing. Learning and utilizing data properly, and IT professionals, as you call them, I'd probably call them OT professionals rather, from an underground perspective, but yeah, definitely on the increase.
Okay. I mean, you said yourself it's got to be relevant, and that means there's always going to be a role for a miner. But yeah, thank you. Ali, what do you think?
This is the old problem for mining companies, that they want to start working in the field of IT, AI, and so on. We need some people working as a unicorn. We need some people who have the experience in IT, making models, working with the data, and also having the mining background. And you cannot find these people between the graduated people from the universities, because we have separated curriculum right now for IT people and for mining engineers. But about 2 years ago, at the University of Queensland, in the mining department, we decided to change some courses, and now we have some special course for the people, for mining engineers who are interested to work in the field of analytics in the future in the mining companies. They have this chance to learn something about analytics, data, and so on. So, and in other side, in the IT department, now we have some courses related to the mining, to give this opportunity to the young people to know about the application of the IT science in the mining area. But I think the new graduation coming to the market maybe in next 3 years or 4 years can help mining companies to have access to the better resources. But in the meantime, we need to train. We need to train the people who are working in the mining companies to know something about IT and advanced analytics by having the temporary sessions, same as boot camps, or permanently learning program for the people who are interested to work in the field of analytics.
Great. It's been a very interesting discussion. Mark, I see that you're back. We missed you. So my question is, when is the number of IT professionals going to exceed the number of mining professionals in mining companies? Would you like to hazard a guess?
Yeah, it's a good question. And sorry about that. My internet connection has been playing up. I've been trying desperately to get back in, so apologies for this. But no, I mean that is a good question. I think it speaks broadly to just generally the skills and the competencies, and what the mine of the future looks like. I think we're gonna progressively get to that point. I think, but barring having a totally automated mine, then we're still going to need miners on the ground. I think, and all the risks and hazards that poses as well. So yeah, it's probably a fair way off, especially with considering how long the life of mine is, or potentially could be. A lot of these ways of working and processes and whatnot are set in place. You might be able to update a little bit or to retrofit here and there, but it will be for some time, I believe.
Thanks very much. Mark, David, Ali, thank you very much for a very interesting discussion, and I think it's really set the scene for some of the talks to come over the next 2 days. So I'd call for a round of applause now if we were live. But thank you very much for all of that, and I'll hand us back to Daniel, who will take us into the next item on the agenda.
Yes, thank you, Declan, and thank you all for the panelists for being with us and for all the insight that we just heard. And I agreed, it was very interesting, and I'm sure many of us benefited from it.